Stu and Dee Dee are having coffee in the kitchen when Grandpa Lou enters, excited. Tells them there's an old radio show, The Masked Detective, is going back on the air. Tells him he loved listening to the show as a child and invites him to listen with him in his room. Stu and Dee Dee decline, and Grandpa, disappointed, walks away. He notices Angelica and the babies playing in the living room and gets an idea. Brings the kids to his room and turns on his old-fashioned radio. Searches for his Masked Detective Junior Sleuther kit in the closet, while Angelica looks for candy as Maltese, parody of Whoppers. She finds the malted milk balls in Grandpa's dresser, but Grandpa takes the bag. He gives the kids one Malty each. The radio announces tonight's episode will be The Case of the Stolen Rocket Pellets. Grandpa recalls that episode, telling the kids that Madame Evil and her henchmen were trying to steal Professor Oldenheimer's experimental rocket pellets, and it would be the end of the world if she got him. Shows the babies his box of Masked Detective merchandise, including a black-eye mask and comic books. He also shows them what the Masked Detective and Madame Evil look like. Grandpa starts reminiscing and listening to the show with his family when he tells the kids that his grandfather would always fall asleep during the show. He falls asleep as well. Angelica takes the opportunity to get the bag of Maltese out of Grandpa's pocket so that they can eat the rest. Phil and Lil go out to help her, but Tommy protests, saying that they were only allowed to have one apiece. Angelica asks who will stop her. Tommy quickly dons a black mask and becomes the Masked Detective. None of the babies are impressed with the diaper-wearing hero, but Tommy reveals that he had snagged the Maltese and a game of keep-away starts. Tommy throws the bag to Chucky, runs away from Angelica and the twins. He barricades himself in the closet, and Angelica tries forcing it open. She eventually does, but Chucky has hidden the Maltese, holding a stuffed woodchuck. She orders him to get out of the way so the twins can search for the Maltese, and Chucky runs off with the woodchuck. The Rugrats continue to play act in the case in a film noir fashion. The actual radio show is playing in the background. Chucky hurries down the back streets of the seedy city towards the Masked Detective's office. He bursts in and gives the woodchuck to the detective, saying that the Maltese are inside. Masked Detective opens up the safe behind a portrait of Dee Dee and locks the woodchuck inside with a key. At the moment, Madame Evil and her twin henchmen arrive. Madame Evil demands the woodchuck, but the Masked Detective puts the key into his diaper. He and Chucky run away, escaping through sewers. They decide to split up, then meet back up at the juice bar. Madame Evil starts catching up, so the detective and Chucky head off in different directions. Chucky trips over his shoelaces and is quickly captured by Madame Evil and her gang. They convince Chucky to give up the location of the Masked Detective through tickle torture. The detective arrives at the juice bar and takes a seat, but Lil's already there, asking to sit with him. The detective asks Lil why she isn't mad at Madame Evil. Lil says that Phil fights with Madame Evil instead of her, which has made her lonely. She has to be the Masked Detective's new bestest friend. He agrees, and they both have a bottle together and seal the deal. But Lil had slipped something into his bottle, warm milk. He immediately falls asleep, and she steals the key. Sometime later, the Masked Detective wakes up in a gutter. Despite being groggy and having jello legs, he hurries back to his office. Madame Evil and her henchmen are about to open the safe, but are interrupted by the Masked Detective. Orders Madame Evil to get away from the safe, but she refuses and opens the safe. However, there is nothing inside. She approaches the detective, ready to torture him for the Maltese, but Lil intervenes, brandishing her finger like a pistol. She says she can no longer be Madame Evil's bestest friend after seeing the Masked Detective sleeping in the gutter like the cute little baby he is. Lil threatens to tell her mother on Angelica if she hurts the detective. Lil reveals that she removed the Maltese woodchuck from the safe before giving the key to Madame Evil. She wants the detective to run away with her and they can share the Maltese, but the detective refuses, saying that the rules must be followed. Madame Evil won't go, not without a fight, so she sends in Phil. Phil also, with a finger gun, says that he will tell his mother what Lil has done. Lil points out that she and Phil have the same mother, then disarms him by telling him to get something out of his nose. While Phil is distracted, the detective says he will tell his mother what Phil has done unless he leaves him alone. Madame Evil correctly points out that none of the babies can tell their mothers anything because none of them can speak to adults. Lil tosses the Maltese to the Masked Detective, who makes his escape out of the building. With nowhere else to go, the detective climbs up the statue of Professor Oldenheimer. Madame Evil in hot pursuit. She grabs his leg and orders him to give her the Maltese. The Masked Detective refuses. She vows that if she can't have them, no one else can. She yanks the detective's leg, causing him to fall right into Grandpa's lap, waking the senior up. Angelica and Tommy stop fighting over the Maltese, and Grandpa is happy they found the bag, having forgotten about having them in the first place. Dee Dee and Stu approach Grandpa's room, feeling guilty for blowing him off. They open the door to listen to the show with him. They see Grandpa chasing the babies around, and Angelica stuffing her face with Maltese. Stu and Dee Dee decide that Grandpa has all the company he could want at the moment and leave. With the case of the Maltese woodchuck closed, the Masked Detective relaxes in his office with a bottle. babies are enjoying some animal crackers. Chucky worries to make it a scary animal like a tiger. Tommy tells him that part of the fun of animal crackers is not knowing what you'll get. Chucky says that not knowing what is coming next scares him. Meanwhile, Angelica's playing with Cynthia and gets hungry and has a hot dog on bun for Friday lunch. She asks Dee Dee for some cookies. Dee Dee tells her no cookies for Angelica because the adults have ordered pizza for lunch that should be delivered later that day. If the delivery man ever makes it the 2 blocks on their house, Dee Dee then asks Stu to give Tommy a bottle before he goes outside to bathe Spike. Angelica goes into the living room, where Phil and Lil are encouraging Tommy to eat his belly button lint. Tommy tastes it but thinks juice would be better. Angelica tells him not to worry since Stu is about to bring some. At that moment, Stu comes in with a bottle and gives it to Tommy. After he leaves, Chucky declares that Angelica's prediction was amazing. Asks Angelica how she knew Stu would unearth juice. Angelica, greedy and hungry, tells the baby she's a psycho instead of a psychic and can see the future. Tommy doubts this, but Angelica then predicts that a pizza will arrive. Sure enough, the pizza guy arrives with the food. The babies are all impressed. Angelica then dresses like a Romanian fortune teller to get whatever she wants from the babies, like toys and their animal crackers. Tommy still has his doubts and wants Chucky to play in the sandbox with him. Chucky asks Angelica what will happen if he joins Tommy. Angelica tells Chucky he'll get sand in his pants. Chucky worries. Tommy tells his friends they shouldn't give their things to Angelica and should resume their lives. Angelica feigns concern, saying that she just wanted to help them out, especially with Spike. Stu is taking a dog clean in the wading pool for Spike. She explains that Spike has turned into a snowman and is melting. Since Tommy doesn't believe in her, the dog is doomed. Again, Tommy doubts us, so Angelica calls Spike from outside. Spike, who's in the middle of a bath, rushes in covered in white suds and is dripping wet. The babies panic and chase Spike around, leaving Angelica free to take the rest of their toys and snack. Later, Angelica has eaten all the animal crackers and wants more snacks. Betty and Howard arrive to have lunch and watch the footage from Stu's knee surgery from the hospital. Angelica sees that Howard brought some soft cookies and gets an idea. She heads to the backyard, where the babies are frantically scooping up the suds onto Spike. Angelica tells the babies the good and bad news. They've saved Spike from the melting, but they're all going to turn into bugs. Babies ask how to stop this, and Angelica tries to predict the solution, claims she is too weak to use her powers. She says the only way would prevent turning into bugs is giving her the cookies. The babies and Angelica enter the kitchen, and the babies climb on top of each other to reach a counter. Angelica tells the babies over and over that she can see wings and feelers growing from their bodies. Tommy makes it, but everyone hides when Dee Dee enters to get more pizza. Tommy hides behind the pizza boxes, but starts losing his footing. Dee Dee moves the cookies onto a kitchen towel, takes some pizzas, and leaves. Tommy falls off the counter, nearly bringing the pizza and cookies with him, but clings to the towel and lands safely. Angelica tries scaring the babies into thinking Chucky's eyes are going to bug out. Tommy sees it Phil while poking Chucky to make his eyes go back in and realizes how crazy they're all acting. Tommy has had enough and refuses to go back onto the counter, saying they were happier when they did not know the future. The babies agree, thinking it might be fun to be a bug. Angelica decides to get the cookies for herself. Tommy tries to warn her, but as she pulls the rag, she spills the entire bowl of cookies and is hit by a pizza all over herself and the kitchen floor. She starts to cry. Stu and Dee Dee enter and scold Angelica for the mess. They leave to give Angelica a bath, and Stu wonders if they have anything to scrape all the cheese out of her hair. The babies go outside to play in the sandbox. Chucky's still unsure, but ultimately decides to determine his own future, puts sand in his pants on purpose. The babies continue their fun in the backyard, making sandcastles.